That's high speed.
It's a great brainwashing process, which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages.
1, 2, 3.
Biscuits getting charred, black blood go wide open. Guy gets on the plate, back smoke rising high, fire alarm screaming attack in the kitchen, whipping heat. Gotta bring it right back. TV hollering louder than the dogs on the street. Guy gets spitting wisdom, feel the motivational heat. Biscuits burn, crispy smoke, cloud my defeat.
So what's up, Will?
Not much. Astros are currently beating the Pirates 5-4 at the bottom of the 8th. So our night in Houston's going pretty well.
I'll take that.
Yeah, we'll take that. You know, Astros are sitting like I think a half a game behind Seattle in their division. So competitive race.
Nice.
Or after All-Star break.
Hell yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Shawn Ryan interview with Erik Prince, talking about the Trump assassination a little bit.
Shawn Ryan podcast. Shout out to him. It's a podcast that I think all of us in our little circle watch frequently.
Yeah.
We're always sending little clips to each other. And
I remember like watching Mike Glover a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And then seeing the Shawn Ryan Show first start out. And it's one of those inspirational journeys, right? Like, I don't know if you know, I went to 8th grade in Franklin, Tennessee.
Oh, cool.
I went to Grassland Middle School
in
Franklin. So I don't know how old Shawn Ryan is, but like it's potentially like we're in the same town at the same time. 'Cause he's from Franklin, right? Or he lives there now.
I think that's where he lives now. He might be from there.
So I don't know if he's from there. I was when I heard that he lived there, I was like, "What? Weird. That's a cool place."
Might have some connections there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to go to the First Church of the Nazarene over there, and it was just a really great time, really amazing place, catching fireflies by the river, and like, just one of the most idyllic places that I've ever lived in my life. My stepdad was in radio, actually, ironically, and so we moved from like Tampa to Phoenix, to back to Tampa to Nashville to all over the place.
Just always working for different radio markets.
He kind of went to different radio stations, from time to time.
Was he weather, sports, or
he was Chucky Boo Boo Bear in the morning.
Chucky Boo Boo Bear in the morning?
Yeah, he was part of the morning crew team. But
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. I don't know really anything about how a lot of that stuff works. My brother knows a lot more of that stuff, but I do remember messing around with it and being in there and like talking into a microphone and like playing and singing songs and doing little goofy sounds and that kind of that kind of little stuff over there,
And like 20-something years later, here you are.
And here, yeah, exactly. It's a really ironic kind of full circle thing. I sent a cryptic photo to my brother a couple of weeks ago on a WhatsApp message with, I think I sent him like the box of the P8 mixer, or I sent him like the setup with the microphone
or something.
Just like, what's this?
Oh,
like, okay, he'll find out in a little bit.
Right.
I'll probably send him a link in a couple. I'll probably send him a link to this since he's mentioned. What's up, Zach?
Yeah. Hello, Zach. A little teaser for him.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So but yeah, I mean the journey of the Shawn Ryan Show has been epic to watch. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah.
And I remember he did some episodes after he did some plant medicine, and had some internal kind of voyages and realizations, and he's just really come into his own. It's been really amazing to watch.
Yeah, I've been following his show. I mean, pretty much since episode 1 or 2. I just came across my feed one day. I was like, oh, was this military gym here? And
yeah,
I was like, oh, this is cool. And just watching guest after guest, and other guests I've seen of his have been on of course, like Rogan or other podcasts that we've seen, and they kind of all float around the same little podcast universe, and it kind of goes down one rabbit hole another. But Shawn's really cool just because it's he gets a lot of interesting military special operators in, and gets these guys to open up in different ways and share their stories, and you get to kind of live that with them, some of the traumatic events, but also their redemption stories. It's their testimonies, and I think a lot of that the stuff we can relate to, even if we've not done that same stuff, because it's the hero's journey. It's just nothing short of inspirational, and glad there's guys out there like that on our side.
It's really an honor for them to share that kind of stuff, which I think is what really draws us in to be interested in their perspective. And then there's guys like Erik Prince, who we've got on this episode. That we're getting into this particular episode. Like, so the Shawn Ryan Show, some of those are like deep dives that are real personal to the warriors and to the people that are the guests that are there that are sharing their stories.
Yeah, so
but this one's a little bit different. Did you get to watch the whole thing?
I didn't get to watch the whole thing yet.
So we'll go through a couple of clips. There's a call to action about what people can actually do to step up and make changes, because the overarching theme of the interview, and then there's an exit that's like the white pill. Okay, so he has like a really good, and I have a great Akira the Don track for the end of the segment. So
always enjoy when you put on some Akira the Don.
Yeah,
in the kitchen or wherever. Like,
but like, so they're talking about the Trump assassination. So how does that tie into all these things? The problem with the Trump assassination is that there's a huge disconnect, and there's sort of, it's like the Scott Adams idea of one movie, two screens. Have you heard that?
No.
So it's like we're all watching the same movie. We're all watching the same movie on the same screen, right? But we have such different perspectives from the extreme left and from the extreme right, or from really not even the extremes necessarily, but people in the middle who are watching one version of the movie that's being fed to them through their social media streams, and another group of people but it's the same movie.
It's the same movie.
So he calls it one movie, two screens.
But you're taking a different perspective.
Because you're looking at this guy's phone and this guy's phone.
Sure.
Right? And there's like, so how do you like bring that back together, and you know, how do we repair the nation, and where is the nation really broken? So that's kind of what I think what a lot of this conversation goes into, more than just saying like, oh, it was a setup, you know. It's like
that one movie, two screens idea or whatever, that kind of reminds me of something I heard a while ago, where I think it was a film school or some film students did an experiment where they made like a short film, and they had the background music as one way, showed it to people, and then all they did was just change the background music to something else, and it gave it like one gave it a happy tone and one a more dark, ominous tone.
Yeah.
And it's like they only did one little change, but it gave off two different vibes.
Good.
So it's like
it's 100%. That's, I mean, that goes into your study of psyops, right? That's exactly how that kind of stuff works.
How stuff's presented to people.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and break down a couple of these, because we got about 10 minutes of clips to get through here.
Sure.
And then we can start just talking about them one at a time. So it's number one.
I mean, do you think this is a DEI? This is the result of DEI within the government?
It's a result of a culture of no accountability for failure. And that allows people to drift so far off the mission. If the mission is to be zero failure, protect the protectee, or whatever the mission is of a federal agency, it allows them to distract into green initiatives, DEI initiatives, all kinds of other things that truly distract from what the actual mission of what they're supposed to be doing is. Yeah, DEI is a factor, but it's really a culture of political correctness and no merit. That's what's exceedingly dangerous, and we become every bit as rotted as the Soviet society was before the Soviet Union collapsed.
So that's the first one that really struck me, especially because of when he brings up at the end, which is that we've become as rotted as the Soviet Union before the Soviet Union collapsed.
That's
which is
not a happy thought, or it's kind of a scary idea.
It's kind of a scary idea. It's kind of, for me, it's a little bit of a relief, because it doesn't sound like what I've previously thought or sort of seen from various sources, which is that we're stepping into Stalinism. Like, we're about to be in the Leninist Stalinist revolution of 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution, that type of thing. What he's saying is that we're reflecting like a societal tendency that's more towards the end of that pseudo utopian experiment that they did, you know, in 1917 all the way through 91 when the Soviet Union, you know, disbanded, balkanized. So it just like it made me interested to maybe talk to some Russian people who grew up there, and
I think you have some neighbors.
Yeah, we recently met our neighbors who
went through some of that,
who moved here in '95. Both of them moved here in '95 separately.
It'd be really cool to get
their
their perspective on that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, I don't know how much. This is kind of where I made the distinction between DEI and meritocracy, because in what he said, in the verbiage there of what he said, it was much more focused on, how did you put it before? Like, it's more about what people do rather than what their characteristics are.
Yeah, it's you know, it's more like are you willing to learn? Are you coachable?
Yeah.
You know, are you capable is one thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't necessarily have to have all the qualifications to get the job done, but you have to be capable of it and willing to learn how to get it. You know, willing to put in the work. I've had lots of kitchens where I started off washing dishes and peeling potatoes because I wasn't capable to run the saute line at that level, but I worked my way up to it.
Yeah.
You know, I just get hired because it says I can do this and I have these other pseudo qualifications, and they're like, well, we need someone 6'3", 250 pounds to fill this role. We don't have one of those yet.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So it's more about the meritocracy, and I just wonder how much of that, like how did that manifest in the late Soviet Union, and did that really lead to like when did that start to lead to the collapse of the Soviet Union? Was that something that was integrated like back in 1917 or 1920 or whenever the Bolsheviks eventually took power and the blood stopped flowing in the streets? Or was it something that was later on? I mean, was it sort of like a Brezhnev or Khrushchev type of addition to the society at some various point along the growth line of that? I mean, I was just watching Michael Malice on the Joe Rogan podcast. Are you familiar with Michael Malice?
yeah,
as well?
I've seen him on Rogan.
And he'd be another amazing guy to talk to about that, because he's also from Russia, and that's why he's great friends with Lex Friedman, because they speak Russian to each other.
Is Lex Friedman, is he Russian, or he's
Russian.
He is Russian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So those guys would be really interesting to talk to about, whether it's them or their parents' perspective. They still have a closer, insightful perspective as to what kind of things were going on. I mean, where are the similarities that we could draw that we have to like watch out for, and what were the solutions? Like, what were the things that people were able to change? How were people able to make the changes to bring, Russia out of it? Did Russia ever come out of it? Is what we see about Russia today? How much of that is propaganda, and how much of it is real?
Well, my first solution would be to leave.
My first solution is to leave.
Get out.
I don't think you can do that though, man. We tried doing that in 2016.
Not
and
here.
I went to what I realized living outside the country for 5 years was this is the best country in the world.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to leave to. You have to stay here and
this
fight.
is the last stop.
The rest of the world is depending on us to stay here and fight. So all the people who are like, I'm going to leave California and go to move to a state that I prefer because I'm conservative, they need to be staying in California, not for the reason that a lot of people say, like, stay in California because you're going to turn our state blue. I would prefer that all the conservatives stay in California or stay in Illinois or wherever in New York
and try to turn the tide. Yeah.
and stand there. And if they need help, I would go there and help.
Yeah.
Help to turn the tide.
Well, it's like that thing. When you have too many of your best people leaving from one place, it's the brain drain.
Yeah.
Stuff starts to collapse more in on itself because your top minds or top capable people are all leaving a failing situation instead of staying to fight it out and fix it.
Yeah.
They're just like, I'm out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
we do welcome our conservative Californians here too. We're glad to have you.
we welcome conservatives and liberals from all over.
Yeah.
We're all about having the open discussion and being able to accept both sides.
I got
As
some,
Americans,
I've got some liberal friends. I like them just fine.
yeah,
I don't
have
like
their-
all their ideas.
they
but
have their point of views and their perspectives, and I'm glad. And I will fight to the death to protect their right to say what they want to say.
yeah, I think that's a big distinction. Like,
And I won't try to commit violence against their side.
No.
Which I think is one of the fundamental differences that's being shown right now.
I think so too. It's
like
we just we just want everyone in America to experience the greatness of this country.
Yeah.
For all the good and bad that it is at times, but know that, hey, we're all here together as Americans. It's kind of a fun thing about, when we do have the Olympics, we can forget about certain things every now and then and come together under,
Right.
This nation's symbol. And hey, shout out to the women's gymnastics team that just brought home the gold. That's
the
awesome.
US, yeah.
Yeah, the U.S. women's team.
So good.
So that's something positive that we can look towards as a nation altogether.
So clip number 2, I guess, can you see that all right in that monitor over there? Or you want me to flip this one?
I can see all right.
Is it DEI? I would say it's a greater lack of focus on merit and being solely focused on doing the mission, and just allowing all the politics and political correctness of Washington to completely distract from an idea. Because I've seen that, we've seen that in the conduct of the war in Iraq, in the conduct of the war in Afghanistan, in the conduct of countering the Houthis, right? So you have the Houthis that have now shut off one of the world's major waterways. The first thing I learned on the day one of the U.S. Navy, the mission of the U.S. Navy is power projection, sea control, and to control the key choke points of the world. Well, right now, choke point is controlled by the Houthis. Enabled by Iran, the U.S. Navy said, well, we fired $1 billion worth of missiles at countering the Houthis. That's not even a real number. It's probably 5 or 6 billion, because they're counting $1 billion worth of missiles from what they bought it for 20, 25 years ago. They're going to pay 6 billion to restock. And again, the Houthis, large and in charge, having shut that off.
So that for me, that was an interesting one to show the like the larger scale effects, right? So the first one, I noticed that the way that he was talking about DEI was not focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It was focused on merit, right? Like, can you do the job? Are you capable of learning, being coachable? And can you physically fill that position, right? Like, you don't put a 5'2" anyone in front of a 6'4" president to protect him, right? You need a guy who's as tall as the president to be able to be because you're a body shield.
Yeah, not unless you're making like a roadblock or something for him. It's
right. Yeah, but I mean, like, you have to be able to fit the job description, not fit the job description to the, whatever characteristic that needs to be filled.
The
and equity is the enemy.
The NFL pays very large men very well to protect Joe Burrow and CJ Stroud on the front lines. And those guys are all like 6'3", 6'4", 6'6", and the little slot receivers are all the way on the outside for a reason.
Yeah,
and you don't. And when you've got the leading candidate for one party, you don't give them the C team. I mean, you wouldn't even protect the first lady with smaller people, right?
So the reality is that I think I don't know if I'm gonna have the numbers exactly right. I won't have the numbers exactly right, but I think it was something like there were people from other departments. Those were not all Secret Service people on Donald Trump's detail.
They're kind of like
HSA.
Like when the local sheriff deputizes someone in,
something like that.
Right.
They're more like
auxiliary
from different departments and stuff. And so I think there were only 4 official Secret Service on Donald Trump's detail on that day,
and the rest
and
were
there were
all
like Jill Biden was speaking at the same time at a different location with 35 people in attendance instead of 35,000 or whatever. It was 13,000 people, right, in attendance at that rally,
right.
And she had 3,500 people or something like that. But she had 12 Secret Service as compared to his 4.
Yeah.
So
which
I mean, if you look at the distinctions between the comparison between like who they're actually, and Jill Biden doesn't have any like political position. She's not that she's not important because she's the first lady.
Right.
I'm saying like,
and not that
the purpose of the Secret Service is to protect the functionality of the government officials, right?
And not that there's anything wrong with her having 12 or 15 or whatever agents, but you'd think that you'd extend that courtesy
to the rest.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's like a merit-based argument there.
Or at least have some priority towards it. But
did Trump have even his own private detail? Did he have his own private security?
I
would imagine he might have maybe drivers or maybe someone.
I don't think that those people were all Secret Service. I think there was some outside security details, like contractor type details involved. Yeah. But I don't know. We'd have to go out and like figure that information.
I remember seeing like the beginning of the RNC highlights on the news. His security detail looked a lot different after.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And I think in this interview at some point, Shawn is asking Erik, like, have they contacted you? And so there's been some talks about I don't think the Blackwater exists necessarily anymore.
Yeah, I think it's under a new name. Or he started a new company. I think
I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he wants to necessarily get tied up in that because he gave a couple of reasons about it. But
well, I know Erik Prince. I've seen in an interview before. He's talked about how they've never lost a principal. They've never lost someone that they're protecting. They've never lost
protectee, right?
Yeah, protectee. They've never had a failure to lose them, which is a great track record.
It is, yeah. And I mean, it's definitely was a thought. It's been a lot of conversations like we got to up the security around that guy because they're most likely they're going to try again. It's just the reality of the situation right now.
Yeah,
as far as what I can see of it. I mean, I don't want to get too crazy on either side. I try to maintain like the balanced perspective, but
it does make you think that like, okay, if you tried once, something else is coming. You just gotta be prepared.
Well, I mean, they're not even getting into too much of the investigation.
Well, they might be keeping some stuff under wraps for security reasons. They might not be able to release too much. I imagine you won't want to release too much to the public.
They literally power washed the roof like the next day.
Just try to have some perspective.
Yeah.
Keep it balanced.
No, I mean, yeah, I hope so. I hope somebody's doing something about it. I just kind of, I don't know, a little bit black pilled on that. But so like him getting into the effects of the DEI going, and what he was just talking about, going out into the world, and the effects that it has on our position in the world and global security, and like the Houthis cutting off the Suez Canal, is it that they cut off, or the?
I know they've cut off some major shipping lanes, and I know that like from what I've read before online, the cost of certain goods and stuff has gone up because shipping companies are now spending like an extra $1 million in fuel to go around different longer routes to avoid them.
Right.
Or it's
Yeah,
it's definitely affected a lot of stuff.
And that's just one situation.
That's just one little group, or not. Yeah.
Yeah. So like kind of to segue into the next little clip here, what he's going to start talking about next is what is wrong with the governmental system that has caused this decline in American. It's not just the DEI and the meritocracy. There's other things that are going on which have caused a decline in the effectiveness of the American military to secure the seas, right, and to secure other things that we've been there to secure for decades. Whether we're Team America World Police or whether we're actually, I think a lot of places who have a U.S. military presence actually appreciate them being there. Because we can help train their police departments and train their local authorities to be able to kind of take out warlords and help build infrastructure and help build community in those places.
So when our military budget is like more than people's GDP and everything like that, they're like, hey, let's contract America to help do a job and train us up. Like,
right. So and I think in the next clip here, he's going to start talking about. The chapter heading says a positive outlook. Which is great, which is one of the best things that I really enjoyed about the interview. But I think what he's specifically going to start talking about is the role of the constitutional structure of how representatives are chosen versus how senators are chosen. So let's get into that one.
I think COVID showed that how important local government is, right? Send your mayor or your county commissioner, whether you can go to the shopping mall or go to church or whatever. Again, not an argument we ever should have even had, but you can see the default fascist in people that want to control. And good governance should happen locally, and state government is also much more accountable. And I think one of the real problems with the federal government, particularly with the Senate, happened when back in the progressive era, in the 19-teens, like 110 years ago, when they passed an amendment which took away, it used to be that the state legislatures would elect the senators, U.S. senators. But then they changed it to be direct election. So now you're voting from Tennessee to send your senator out. The problem with that is it allows money from not Tennessee, but from everywhere to flood into Tennessee's election to affect how that senator is elected, instead of that senator that goes to represent Tennessee be beholden to Tennessee's interests and the state legislature who elected him telling him what to do.
Yeah, that can be a big problem.
Yeah.
Because you can have I've seen before in elections where a highly contested area for a senator spot or governorship, and outside money and influence and celebrities and other politicians come flood that state from half the country away to influence people, and it should be the people of that state making the decisions of who they want to represent, and not all this outside money doing it. And both sides do it. I mean, but it doesn't make it right at all.
It doesn't make it right. What it does is it sort of outsources the influence to a more of like either a corporate audience or a global audience, right? Which is what he's talking about with fascism, because fascism is the marriage of the corporation and the state. So if you're looking at global corporations, and reading in between the lines, he's talking about Northrop Grumman and these type of military aligned corporations that benefit from us being involved in international warfare, who generating conflict that the U.S. either has to solve or is involved in is beneficial to their companies. And so if you shift the voice from the constituents of a particular state and take their voice away, and you give their voice to an external entity specifically aligned with those types of activities, then you can see where there's sort of like some of the problem starts to line up from that. And I think there's a very specific reason that he's talking about that particular topic in an interview about Donald Trump's assassination attempt.
Yeah, he would know a lot about that. He's
probably got his ear to the railroad tracks or whatever they call it, right? Like,
yeah,
he's got his ear to the ground.
His finger on the pulse, like
that's it. Yeah,
of all that.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then he talks a little bit more about it. We'll go into the next clip so we can kind of move along.
time. We believe in individual liberty. They believe in unity and control by the party. What you're seeing the Democratic Party do in
He's talking about them. Who is they? Who is them?
Right.
removing Biden from the candidacy, and now what charade they're going to pull for a convention and a hurry up reselection of a candidate, and now with their toadies and cronies in the media promoting either Kamala Harris or whoever they end up putting on the ticket. There is a collectivist elite that focus on that, and it's probably good journalism would be exposing that, and again, bright disinfectant lights of truth on who those shot callers are is important.
Here we are.
There we are.
I just want to rewind real quick back to I don't know any other way to say it. People are concerned. They're fucking tired of what's going on. I see it in the comments all the time. When are we going to do something? When are we going to do something? And it's been going on for 8+ years now.
Easy to type,
Very easy to type. Hard to
do.
Yeah. What do you?
It causes. Look, think about what that means. That's enormous. And it's not about taking up arms and doing something. It's about showing up at the school board meeting and calling bullshit on the person that's pushing training stuff to your kids or whatever other nonsense. Right? It's showing up. It's turning off the football game and showing up to these local governance things or canvassing your local elections and getting your own friends, siblings, cousins, kids to turn out and vote, making sure they're educated on the issues. It's not about jacking up going to war. It's about this has got to be solved at the ballot box. It's still possible to solve the ballot box, so it doesn't have to be solved with the cartridge box.
Is it still possible to be solved with the ballot box?
Yes,
Sure. How many illegals just entered this country?
a lot.
How many of them are going to vote?
Yeah, so I'm gonna stop it right there because he brought up an important point, but both of them brought up a very important point, and this is one of the things that really made me want to actually do a reacts video to this particular conversation, because what Eric's talking about is actually fifth generational warfare and being able to put on a white hat and go back and do exactly what they're trying to do to the entire population, right? They're using a media apparatus, they're trying to spread information, and they're trying to use the media apparatus to be able to drive people up into not a frenzy in the streets, but they're trying to drive people up to a voting apparatus that takes them to the ballot box that makes the changes, right? And this is a reason why we have a lot of liberal DAs and a lot of liberal city council members and those type of things in a lot of our cities throughout the whole country, because conservatives don't tend to get as involved in the local politics.
Yep.
And I think that what he's talking about is the most important thing. It's one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast. It's really a critically important duty of every good citizen in this country to be able to stand up and have conversations about this, to share the information about this, and start being able to get everyone and get your community involved and have them understand what's going on and what's at stake in the situation.
And also, people need to pay attention to what is happening in their local community first, and then get educated on who's running in those elections.
Yeah.
How's it going to affect you, your neighbor, your kids, your future?
Well, they should be running themselves too. They should literally be running themselves. And as far as the Shawn's final point there, which was somewhat of a black pill, somewhat of an ominous point, which is very easy to look at because it's just right up there in your face, is like how many people are coming across the border and how many of those people are going to vote. I think that who was it? The Washington Times put out an article about that very thing. How are they getting illegals to the ballot box and getting them to vote, and how is it actually working?
I'd be very interested to learn how they do that, because I don't know how to do it any other way than the legal way that I've been doing since I was 18.
Right.
Like register to vote here. This is where I live.
Well, I think they're just giving them when they process them through. They're giving a lot of them just giving them IDs and letting them go, to go ahead and vote whenever they pull their ID.
Is that all you need? Is it some type of ID to vote? You don't need.
I think a lot of times they don't even ask for the ID at the polling place. The actual polling place.
The people who run the polling place is like, oh, go in.
Come on in. Yeah.
But I feel like,
or you write your name down.
Yeah.
Or you write down some sort of ID. Or
I feel like when I've gone and voted,
my point is that it's very easy for a person
they have ways to get around
to go to the flea market and go buy an ID card. And then go take that ID card to the polling place, and they're just going to go, okay, sign here.
Yeah.
Go ahead and vote.
I think it look more into how our system is here locally in Houston and Texas. Like, what do they check whenever they actually check off our ID and do they like check our name off of a piece of paper to verify, like, all right, Will Blinks came through and vote, so he can't go to another precinct and vote? Or it's something I've never really wondered too much about. Because I just go and vote, and I don't really think beyond that. I do my civic duty.
Right.
I get my little sticker that says I voted, and then I go have a taco or a slice of pizza. I'm like, I move on with my day.
Right.
You know? I feel good about myself. Hey, I did my duty.
Yeah. So there's and like I don't have the website pulled up, so I don't have the name of it exactly, but there are government tracking websites that are tracking who's registering to vote, right? How many people are registering each? I think they do it in 2-week increments. So it'll tell you, 20,000 people came in and tried to register to vote, and then the next column will tell you how many of those were false identifications.
Oh wow.
They got rejected from the system, and then it'll tell you how many of those people are deceased.
Sure.
Who are trying to register to vote, but they're dead.
You always hear about the dead voting.
Yeah, but there's a tracker for it, and the numbers are out of control. And like Tim Pool exposed this months ago on his show.
How many people are taking their children's identities and using it to go vote? Because I've heard people taking their kids' social security numbers and opening up bank loans, wherever their kids' stuff, ruining their credit, and then when that kid turns 18, they're like shit out of luck because mom and dad screwed over their stuff so bad.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's many ways to cheat in voting.
I think that actually ties in perfectly to this, which is that like the next to the last clip. Actually, I think this flows right into this is the next to the last clip.
But we spend way too much on defense because of really bad, really stupid procurement policies driven by Congress that reward really bad behavior from these very bloated customers that really start to look exactly like the federal government customer. That's probably why big government hated Blackwater so much, is because I would say to our people all the time, we never want to look like, act like, at the speed of our customers, ever.
You keep talking about power of the purse, and we're wrapping up this interview. I want it to be a quick, fast-paced interview, but I mean, what can people do?
They should go to their congressman's town hall meetings and get in their face about spending less, about cutting defense, about cutting their spending on everything. Cut money. Politicians will respond to people angry in their face at those town hall meetings. They will get angry about it. Heritage Foundation, those kind of organizations have lots of good material on reducing the size of government. Read up on that stuff and get in your congressman's face. Whether they're Republican or Democrat, they will understand angry voters because they're all afraid. They just want to be reelected.
Speaking of like cutting on spending and all that, I can say this from firsthand experience seeing it in the military, just even as an Army reservist in the supply. There comes like a time where the fiscal year is coming to an end for the government or military, and they have like a use or lose it mindset where if you're allocated so many funds for a budget,
right,
and you don't use up all that, you're not going to get that same budget the next year,
correct,
or at least that much. They're going to be like, oh, cool, you saved $1 million this year. Well,
we're just going to give you $1 million less next year,
right? And then, but it's like feast or famine, and it seems like it's that way throughout all the government.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. That's just encouraging wastefulness, and that's actually another aspect of this. Is the last one I thought was coming in, which is affluenza, and he's going to talk about affluenza.
Involved in doing that.
They have to get past affluenza, right? Things are so good, they're so comfortable, so much wealth in America that it's easy, right? We have an obesity epidemic, right? 70+% of people are seriously overweight. Enough. I travel a lot. It is embarrassing to see how obese Americans are. Obviously, Americans are walking around in Europe or Asia or South America. Like, come on, people, put the sugar down. Enough.
Yeah.
Get off the affluenza.
Yeah. I want to end this on a positive note.
It's been yes, easy.
Good. Go.
It's always been much worse. It's always been. We've gone through. America's been far worse off before. Okay, think about American Civil War. 600,000 people dead. Even after World War I, there was millions of people died of Spanish flu. Actual flu that killed lots of people. Killed them. Not the nonsense that was COVID. The Great Depression. Serious economic hardships. Actual starvation in parts of America. So yeah, we've got some issues now, but it's fixable.
Have we been up against anything like this before?
Well, this is a fundamental defining issue of how we view ourselves as citizens in a government. We talked about before, the socialist or the communist paradigm is really about control and subjecting yourself to a government elite, a party elite, determining what is best for your life, versus the paradigm of freedom, of individual liberty, and choice for that you make those changes to organize your life in the way that you want to choose. And that clash has been ongoing for millennia. And I would always choose the side of freedom.
Thank you for sharing that. Last question. If Trump gets elected, do you have a spot in his administration?
You guys will have to watch the interview to get the answer on that one. I'm not going to give that one away.
He'll be the new Secret Service director.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he would be.
He's qualified.
He's definitely qualified. He would be a great director for like the DOD, right? He could definitely.
Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, he could definitely do the job.
Yeah.
Very well. So, but I mean, I like
positive,
I like the perspective of
like we're not out of it. We're still in the fight.
Yeah.
Things have been worse. You put into the right perspective. I mean, the Spanish flu, the Great Depression, things that people were seriously dying of and crippling the economy from. Not that COVID didn't cripple the economy, but yes, it's the perspective.
It's been much worse. It's been much worse, not just in this country's history, but in the global history. And then that's like the last the thing that I kind of want to bring this to like a close on here, which is going to be.
Let's welcome to the stage Mr. Gary Vee. Alright, let's go, sit down. Let's do this.
Have you heard this?
I wish we had better perspective. I wish that there was some weird genie that could take us back into time so that every one of you could live one fucking day in your great-great-grandparents' shoes and understand how fucking good you have it. Like if you really, really understood. I'm not naive to what's happening in our society. Let me just say this very clear so everybody gets it through their fucking dome. This is the greatest year to ever be alive in the history of mankind. This is the greatest year to ever be alive in the history of mankind. This is the best. This is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we have indoor plumbing
He goes,
and
he's like
iPhones.
He's fascinated by mindset.
Yeah.
And there's so many sources for me right now as I'm like doing this this podcasting journey is right alongside with I just completed 90, probably about 100 days now of this kind of discipline, right? And building a set of habits that's not as extreme as the 75 hard lifestyle, but it's a step towards that.
And like the positive changes
Yes.
from where you were 100 days ago to now.
Okay.
And it's increment baby steps,
Massive.
but they've kept up.
They've turned into like a
lifestyle.
a Nephilim step. From a baby step, they've gone to a Nephilim step. The
Sure.
Nephilim are like the giant, the
Yeah.
race of giants, you know. So so it's been really good to have that perspective and like what he's talking about mindset and about how this is the greatest year to ever be alive and being able to have that. Take the white pill, don't take the black pill.
Yeah.
But it's very important to have the mindset of just maintaining the white pill, maintaining that positive outlook of like, yes, it today it might not be like the top of that wave vibrational frequency, but
you're hovering around the same neighborhood.
you're still going in the right direction.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you're going on a wave like this, but you're actually moving forward. So
Right.
today you might be down, but you're still forward from where you were before.
You're just kind of on you're floating to San Marcos and you're kind of at the beach. You're kind of like at the little break. You're about to get back in the water and keep it moving. You're just
I mean, it's been a good conversation. I think that people are now kind of got some more exposure to the Shawn Ryan Show.
Yeah.
A little bit of Akira the Don thrown in there for good measure, because this is the greatest year to ever be alive
Ever.
in the history of mankind.
Ever.
Yeah.
Especially as an American.
And what I really love about that song is that that song will never become obsolete. You know what I mean? Like every year, the whole point of the song is like every year
I mean,
it's better. And when did you even produce that?
And it won't come obsolete.
That song was produced 6 years ago.
Nice.
Okay, so what it says here is The evil was not in bread and circuses per se, but in the willingness of the people to sell their rights as free men for full bellies and the excitement of the games, which would serve to distract them from the other human hungers which bread and circuses can never appease. I think it's one of the most important quotes in history, especially if we want to apply the solution to the United States. The more that you support watching the distraction of Hollywood, sports, any of that kind of stuff, all those types of distractions,
without being involved.
The benefit would be being involved, because then you're actually doing something to better yourself. Right. So to go back to this, the evil was not in the bread and circuses per se. Right. So the evil's not in Hollywood and sports and all that kind of distraction. It's in the willingness of the people to sell their rights as free men for full bellies and the excitement of the games. So it's rather the voyeurism and the self-gratification that is the destructive element of it, and which would serve to distract them from the other human hungers which bread and circuses can never appease. So those other human hungers being like the greatness of your own human potential. So you actually going and playing a game of baseball and being like the best right fielder or the best shortstop or whatever is infinitely more empowering and infinitely more powerful as a revolutionary act than going and supporting, right? Like, and spend my time building and strengthening my mind, sharing the knowledge and sharing the fire and the inspiration with everyone else to be able to start building the fervor that will make America great again. I think this quote right here is going to have to go in one of our like, maybe I'll put it on the cover of this
episode. Yeah. I think we'll build a little quote book or link to some of our favorite quotes over time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Well, I think that's it, Will.
Yeah.
Got to get things rolling.
I think that's it.
Everybody smash the like button. Go ahead and like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you can get all the notifications. We will add some links to the Shawn Ryan Show and to Akira the Don in the description. Tell us what you think about in the comments. And let us know what you think about the page, and let us know what you think about the conversation.
All right, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
See y'all Sunday.